Welcome to NiCHE Conversations. I'm Jessica DeWitt, one of the editors here at the Network in Canadian History and Environment. And today I am lucky enough to be joined by Christine Keiner. Can you tell us about yourself?
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me today, Jessica. I'm
Yeah.
a historian of science and an environmental historian, uh, primarily interested in relationships between scientists and politicians and resource users in
Mhm.
marine and estuarine environments.
Yeah. And that has a whole lot of relevance right now, which we're going to get into today. So as I was talking about before you joined us, we reposted this as part of your article. Sorry, jumping ahead of myself. We reposted your article, Coastal Economies Rely on NOAA from Maine to Florida, Texas, and Alaska, even if they don't realize it. And we republished it as part of our Tracking the Effects, Environmental History, and the Current United States Federal Administration series. So I thought today we could start off really basic. For those who don't know, what is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration?
Well, thank you so much for republishing it. NOAA is a federal agency that is responsible for many kinds of scientific work related to weather forecasting, climate modeling, and management of marine and coastal environments. And technically, they've been around since 1970.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Nixon created NOAA as part of a broader governmental reorganization, but it has much deeper roots.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, its predecessor agencies go all the way back to
Wow.
1807 with the Coast and Geodetic Survey, which was created to provide nautical charts, obviously had great military importance. And then 1870 is when the Weather Bureau uh, came into being in the U.S. And then in 1871, the Commission of Fish and Fisheries.
Mm-hmm.
So there were very practical economic and military purposes to these agencies. And then I'm really interested in the period of the late 19th century when conservation,
Mm-hmm.
utilitarian conservation became a major concern as fisheries started to noticeably decline throughout the U.S. and all of North America.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. I mean, I guess I've never really thought of like what was before Noah. Like I've heard of a lot of these things you're talking about, but I didn't really think of like the succession and like it's all part of one line of, evolving of the government and how it handles these things. So I like that background. It's interesting. Um, so in this particular article, you're focusing on coastal economies. So I thought, could you maybe describe two ways that NOAA is critical to coastal economies in the United States?
Yes, definitely. Fisheries is one of my big
Mm-hmm.
interests. Uh, so ensuring that fisheries are managed on a sustainable basis. So both in terms of the wild harvest and then also fish farming or
Mm-hmm.
aquaculture is a special interest of mine. Um, and then also aquatic invasive species is another area that I'm working on now for my next book. Zebra mussels in particular.
Ooh,
In fact, I'm wearing my zebra mussel earrings.
awesome.
Which,
Awesome.
an artisan here in Rochester made them, and she cast it from an actual zebra mussel. So it's a great teaching tool to
Right.
show that they are incredibly tiny, but when they amass in billions, they cause a lot of economic and ecological damage. Uh, so zebra mussels are just one of dozens of species that came into the Great Lakes, which of course span the US and Canada.
Mm-hmm.
They came in the ballast water of transoceanic ships coming from Eurasia. So NOAA played a really important role in funding research to get the evidence to show that this was indeed a vector,
Mm-hmm.
because ships have to take on ballast water and then release it in different ports for safety, for balance. But they were also bringing in larvae and all kinds of microbes and all kinds of uninvited species. So scientific research funded by NOAA helped lead to policies that now mandate ballast water exchange, and the number of new invasions coming in through this vector has noticeably decreased. So
yeah, cool. And of course, like in both of these examples, fish don't follow country boundaries. The Great Lakes, where zero mussels are really having impact, are bordered by both Canada and the US. And I know that up here, there is a lot of talk about, you know, the international, the way that, I think we're just becoming more thoughtful, or like about how we are reliant on NOAA up here in Canada. And I wonder if we could end our little chat today by talking a bit more about the international implications that defunding NOAA or parts of NOAA could have.
Definitely, it's not only an issue of interest to people in the U.S. or even only along the coastlines, because nature does not care about political borders.
Yes.
Ecological boundaries, ecological systems follow ecological boundaries, not political ones. So one of the ways in which NOAA work just affects everyone worldwide is through its huge collection of data. So NOAA funds research, but then it also does a lot of monitoring, which is why it's able to engage in weather forecasting and climate modeling. So NOAA maintains all these satellites in the sky. It maintains thousands of buoys in the oceans, and they make all of these data sets available for free to the public around the world through open access data systems. So this data doesn't just collect itself, it requires a huge amount of maintenance. It's very expensive. It requires a lot of expertise to maintain. And no private company is going to share these massive data sets for free. And many other nations don't have the capacity to maintain all of this data and monitoring systems either. So it's really important in terms of climate modeling over a long scale, but also very short-term weather forecasting for predicting severe storms and sea level rise and other kinds of threats to humans.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those moments where it's kind of NOAA and what it does. We've, I think, taken it for granted. It's running so smoothly behind the scenes. You know, we're getting our weather reports, we're getting et cetera, et cetera. And then, you know, there's these moments in time where like the curtain is unveiled, like all these things working behind the scenes, and when we lose them or we have threats of losing them, it's wow, yeah, it's a lot to think about. And it's NOAA has such a huge impact around the world. So yeah, I think people should definitely read up on your article. It has a lot of different, not just the invasive species and the fisheries, it has a few other examples of ways that NOAA has impacts on the economy of the US, but also, as we're talking about today, very much the economies of Canada, Mexico, and beyond. So thank you for joining me today, Christine. This was a really fun chat.
Oh, thank you for inviting me and for having this series. I'm really enjoying learning about the other topics that people are writing about.
Yes. Yeah, and we have a few more coming out. We've got one on language and disability, like environmental language and how that impacts folks with disability in the works. And we also have something on beer and agriculture coming out. So those are the two that are definites at the moment, so people can keep an eye out for that. So and if you, listener, have a topic you want to write about how environmental impacts on due to the current administration in the US, let us know. Thank you for joining me today, Christine. This was fun.
Oh, thank you, Jessica.
Take care. Bye.
You too.